So I'm just going to do a quick rundown of the panel now, and I'm going to offer this down, because if you find it annoying for us to speak into a microphone when you can perfectly well hear us, please say so, because we don't want to hand a microphone across, but it is better if we make sure we're well audible. So I'm passing this one back to Paul. The question is, any immediate reactions to the film?
Just a few observations. The first one was just how young we all were. I mean, I was 26 when I got that job, and I was one of the older ones at the Citadel, and with the other people that were participating in activities there. That's quite extraordinary, really, to be given that much freedom to do what we did was extraordinary. And then the other 2 points that are linked to that was that I've never had as much fun in my life, as Andy Cave said. It's easily the best job I've ever had. And thank God there was no social media at that time, because I'm pretty confident I don't think I would have lasted very long. I mean, there's probably a few people in this room who wouldn't have lasted very long as well if it'd all been splashed over Facebook and the like. So that was, thank goodness for that, because it was a great time.
That's a lot. Barrie, any immediate reaction to the film?
I don't need that, kid.
Right. All right.
I was old when this was happening, early 30s, and I missed this energy. I came from another time, the early 70s, which was better than this time. Good. Oh. Well, I knew I'd get a reaction. I bet you're from the car, aren't you? So, controversial already. Is this on film?
Yes.
Oh, hell.
Start again.
Edit all that bit out.
The film, Barrie, the film! What did you think?
It was energetic and representative of that era. I am sorry I missed it, because I think I could have contributed in my own small way. However, because I'm old, I think I've gathered a substantial amount of background, and that has contributed to where I am now, looking to get St Helens World Heritage status, because we are special, and I want the world to recognise that.
Thank you. Rebecca, do you want to use the microphone, or do you want to grab it?
I'm not sure. Sometimes I've got a loud enough mouth, to be
No, we
honest.
shall see. We shall see.
We will try.
So, first reactions.
I loved it. So in terms of, you can just see the passion, the enthusiasm from everyone who took part. Another thing that really stands out to me is how many people are actually still involved in the arts, like Ian, who featured, which was, it's great to see him up at the Liverpool Docks, and Andy. So yeah, obviously whatever happened back then inspired people enough to actually still be working within those, but also actually just still inspiring other generations. Like Ian's working at the university now, leader, of the creative arts. So the legacy is carrying on, and that's what stood out to me as well.
I mean, the point is that you lot... There's a question for the audience generally. Give us a yay if there was anything in the film that told you something about St Helens you didn't know.
Yep. Yeah.
Yay? Any more yays?
Yeah.
Yeah? Was it for you? Something with the new things in there?
Very.
Yeah? And for you, probably?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so this is a film that tells you things that you may not have noticed at the time. And that makes it, that would be true for you, Rebecca, I guess, in some ways. Barrie, some things you weren't aware were going on. Paul, you weren't here all the time, so the before and the after of it all is news to you in useful ways.
One of the great things about the film was you only knew your little bit, really, and to see, like I mentioned earlier, it just felt like you're just part of a much, much bigger jigsaw, and seeing the breadth of creativity that came about and snowballed. That's one of the very powerful things that I took from the film. I thought it was extraordinary.
Thank you. I'm going to make a comment here that will help the panel to answer my next question, really. I'm taking it that the things we saw in the film we think are true. In other words, even if you didn't know all that, you've now learnt it, so to speak. So if I ask for example, about the northern towns, which were, as John Chelsea's in there, under the cosh. They were being kneecapped, I think he said, they were being hobbled by the government that was in power at the time in the 1980s. Now, whether you knew about that going on or not, the film says that. And I just wonder if there's any way, we'll go down the line again and start with Paul, whether there's something about that type of period that makes the arts flourish, or makes it flourish in a particular way. What do you think, Paul?
I'll give you the mic if you want it.
Well, you're not handed anything on a plate, so you've got to make it work. What I found in St Helens, and in fact everywhere I've worked was the same. People ask me, why are you going to St Helens? I've been working in Liverpool. I'm from here originally, but I've been working in Liverpool. You know, there's nothing going on there. There's no culture happening there. Why are you bothering? And also then the arts organisation say, well, you know, if you'd offer your cap, they'll come and do things for you. And what I found in those areas of, in those times when things were so parlous financially, you needed to go out and make connections and encourage and enable, but the actual financial circumstances weren't the biggest issue. There was always ways of finding people and finding resources, be it buildings or money, to make things happen. And although things are just as bad now, having gone through austerity, that still holds true today. What you need is people who can encourage and enable and empower to make things happen, but also can harness it and harness those opportunities out there. And demand, I think, is an important word as well. Demand what's your right as well. When that happens, you are able to make the best of a situation, and it doesn't matter how parlous the financial situation is. Obviously things could be a damn sight easier, but it does mean that things can still be done and things can thrive as well. Because when things are so tight, those old ways of working go out the window, and in many respects it can actually be quite freeing as well, because anything is possible.
Thank you. Do you want to pass on to Barrie?
Barrie,
what's the relationship between the tough northern life and the arts? Does one affect the other?
I wonder if I could come up with a simple equation, which is easily shot down before I even say it. I wonder if deprivation equals creativity. Because St Helens has its own unique energy. And if you've lived here long enough, you can feel it. It's palpable. And it doesn't matter what era, it doesn't matter when you were born. St Helens generates a very unique and very personal approach to its arts and culture. And I do think we're going through a period of that now. Again, austerity is forcing us into ways of thinking that I believe actually bring out the best in us. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that we just have austerity as a common theme in our politics. That is nonsense. We need hope. And I do think that deprivation, people find their own place of hope, and they found it in expressing themselves. And I think the St Helens scene is particularly unique in expressing itself.
Thank you. Rebecca, do you want to use it if you want to? If you don't, that's fine. What do you see as the relationship between tough northern life under the cosh and creativity?
I really think Sean summarised it perfectly before when he was talking about under the pressure. Pressure does a few things, doesn't it? It can either break something or it can create the diamonds, and I think within the northern towns that is what happens. And the humour and just sort of that get on with it attitude, so to speak. So for me, yeah, Wigan is probably a very similar town if you want to look at that. But yeah, it's the northern towns, humour, and yeah, something coming out of the rough, for want of a better word.
Okay.
I'm a little bit confused because I'm not sure. The way we've edited it, I think what I effectively I think is a Brian Carney quote comes out as a Sean Reynard quote. Can Sean, did you say that or not?
It sounded like you.
I think that was Brian. Anyway, never mind. It's just
I was doing the fucking mime.
Yeah, you did all that, You're sorry I forgot about that.
yeah. Anyway, that's by the by. That's by the by. Okay. Well, let's just move on. Is it about strong personalities and personal initiatives, or is it about council encouragement and municipal support? Or is it a judicious mixture of both, and how do you mix them? Back to Paul and then down the line.
I definitely think it is. It has an awful lot to do with the council's approach. And after the Citadel, I became a man in a grey suit, because I was absolutely crystal clear that the amount of resources, the physical resources and the cash and the buildings and the people in various departments across the council, be it social work or education, or social care rather, or education or leisure, there was ways of unlocking massive resources to make things happen. And so I was all about being, talking about the instrumental value of culture, about what it can do to support the council's objectives, but actually using that as being quite subversive, actually, as a way of actually totally believing in, and you got it from the film, about the intrinsic value of culture, what difference it makes to people's lives. So I harnessed that, and harnessed the councils where I've worked to be able to do that.
Okay. Barrie, over there it'll go. Is it about strong individual characters and personal efforts, or is there some role for the council in all this?
I think it's a mixture of both, Roger. I honestly believe that any organisation, whether it's a local authority, British Petroleum, or a small restoration group, thrives on a culture where ideas are promoted from the bottom up. The big man at the top idea of the Industrial Revolution, that has gone. I strongly believe that a thriving culture comes from the bottom up. I think St Helens has sort of, I'm talking here about local authority, has sort of lost its way. And I can departmentalise that, because talking with people like Rebecca and Andy and Kath Sherry, I know they thrive on a culture of ideas from the bottom. You can say anything what you want and feel free to say it. There are certain departments in the council where that is not true, and they've become bogged down in procedure and protocol. Getting an answer from those departments is damned hard work. Getting an answer from Rebecca is pretty much a one-minute discussion, isn't it, Rebecca?
Oh, I hope that if I can. I can't promise that verbally and on camera.
That was me being naughty.
That was.
So, to answer your question, I think it's a mixture of not necessarily a strong person, but a creative person who is willing to listen.
Are we allowed to butt in?
Not yet. I'll come back to you when we've been round the line, because I'm sure you've got lots to say, and we're about to cut out to you, but I think I'll just give the panel one more chance to spill out, and then we'll open it up. Carry on. Can we move on from you, Barrie?
Yeah, sure. Please do.
Rebecca.
I will pick up, I think, on what Barrie was maybe going to say. I don't think it's necessarily all about the strong personalities, because I think within that you can have some really, really quiet personalities who are just really determined. But it's essential to have both. It's of course essential to have a working of those strong people and quiet people, the people who want to get stuff done, the people with the ideas, and support from the council, of course. You know, it's reciprocal. It is.
Okay, so it's a partnership kind of thing.
I believe so, yeah, I do believe so. But then there is also plenty of independent spaces and funding as well to sort of do that. But yeah, if you really want to embed yourself in St Helens as a place, yeah, it's reciprocal working with. But I just don't. I think the only thing I'm picking up on Barrie is it doesn't have to be those strong personalities, because sometimes you just get these quiet, subdued people who are actually like just amazing. But they do. It's
yeah. Okay, I'm going to pick. I've got 3 questions, one for each of the panel members. Then I'm going to open up to you, and it is free for all. Paul, you've worked in the arts and building management for most of your career. Is it still possible to think of a development like the Citadel having such a positive effect, or was that just one lucky moment in history?
I think that there's efforts being made now to replicate what happened at the Citadel with this, things like the Creative People and Praises programme, which St Helens has benefited from. The very ethos of that is the Citadel for me. If you look at what was achieved at the Citadel and the whole approach, that is absolutely what that whole programme is about. So it's about engaging, well, it's where the Arts Council think there is low levels of cultural participation, and as we know, that's rubbish. It wasn't true here when I came here. It wasn't true in the last job in East London, where people were saying again, what are you doing there? There's nothing happening. But once you find out what's going on, you know, there's a massive gospel choir scene. There's Mobo jazz, Mobo winning jazz singers. There was a huge, really high quality carnival programme. It was people making culture in their own places in ways that work for them. And what we try to do, and what Creative People and Places try and do, and how you can replicate what happened in the Citadel, is be very clear about what you need to do to enable them to do more, to get more people participating. Because there's actually a huge amount going on in towns and cities across the country. Look at the furore with Cleverly, the Tory MP, calling Stockton-on-Tees a shithole. And then the next day on the radio, it was bloody brilliant. There was a councillor from Stockton-on-Tees going on, the commentator couldn't shut him up about the range of activity going on. Some really big established events, but loads of grassroots level cultural activities. So yeah, it's out there. So I think the Citadel can be a role model that you can build and develop from elsewhere. And I think programmes like the Creative People and Places programme is doing just that.
Okay, let's move on. Barrie, how far do you think it's useful for St Helens to use heritage as a way forward in the development of the town?
Tim, Rose, can you lock the doors? Because I'm going to give a history lecture. I brought like it. Very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, a quick history lesson of St Helens. The first industrial canal in England, the earliest major railway viaducts in the world, and the home of the Rainhill trials. A transport revolution happened here, without which there would not have been an industrial revolution. And it all happened here in St Helens. Let me throw some names out at you. And I have to use my notes because I'm at the age now where I get to the top of the stairs and I don't know why the hell I'm there. So, Gamble Alkali Works, Beecham's, Raymond Egg Glass, United Glass, Cannington Shaw, Pilkingson's, Triplix, and of course St Helens stands on a vast coalfield. We were pioneers. It started here, and yet we don't make a big deal of it at all. Now, as a historian, it would be easy just to look at the facts and dates, but the fascinating aspect of the Industrial Revolution is that it mostly happened by accident. And I think if you look at the history of St Helens, we happened by accident. Would you design the roads like this now? No, you wouldn't. It was cobbled together. There was a sense of absurd adventure, which actually came out in the film, Roger. We still have that sense of absurd adventure, where failure was far more common than success. But our ancestors went ahead and did it anyway. Again, that was borne out in the film. Those people went ahead and did it anyway. There was a spirit of experimentation that was, I put almost chaotic, actually it was totally chaotic. But it generated its own energy that led to a belief that anything is possible. Again, that was borne out in the film. All those artists believed anything was possible. They generated their own confidence and created another energy that people picked up on. And they didn't copy it, they brought their own thing to the table. There's no prescription or blueprint for success. The stakes were high, but the people who went before us had a go anyway. Again, that film tells me there's a certain unique sense of spirit in St Helens that can't be broken by politics or economics. You are very, very special people, and I love you all. I'm left wondering if the passion drove them or they drove the passion. Something for Rebecca and Roger to discuss, I think.
Being passionate people.
I think the answer was that St Helens was caught in an uncontrolled chain reaction. They didn't know where the heck it was going, but it didn't really matter. They were part of a tidal wave of creativity, something that couldn't be stopped, and who would want to stop it anyway? St Helens and its heritage, I think, are a unique jazz improvisation. And you're all part of it, whether you know it or not. I do believe the town, I'm actually going to answer your question.
Oh, right.
I was just going off on one of them.
Right, that's called jazz improvisation.
That's why I did it.
Right, go on then.
I do believe the town doesn't make enough of its unique place in history. We have much to be proud of, and I sometimes think we're ashamed of it, because the Industrial Revolution gets a bad reputation for all sorts of reasons, some of which are justified. I would like to see a political commitment at the highest level, marking our contribution to the transformation of the world, because we did change the world. I would love to tap into this vital energy that stands us apart from other industrial towns. It's clear from the arts and cultures and tellings, this energy still exists. It's time to harness that passion once more and tell the world who we really are.
He's folded his paper, that means, I think that's a ripple. Last question before we go to generalities.
I can't follow on from him.
Yes, you can, because it's a very different question. Right. Does this town have the capacity to do anything now to tap into, I'll call it youth culture, you wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
All right, go on, and start the ball rolling again.
100%. So not to be contrary, but what I do have to point out as well, because we're talking about past and future, and it feels like we've missed a space, or it feels like something isn't happening, and I wouldn't feel like I'm giving my colleagues and my friends sort of justice, because I've seen sort of loads of people working over the last few years really hard. Arts and culture really is thriving in St Helens. Can we do better? Of course we can. Do you know what I mean? There is always improvements to be made, but yeah, the bedrocks are here. For example, if you want to talk about youth culture, last week there was 2 concerts happened in the town hall. The kids had worked with a local composer called Bill Connor. Each school had created their own song from scratch. Bill had gone in, captured the thoughts, turned them into music. Some of them was up to like 7 to 10 minutes long. The kids played on the stage with an orchestra. They also played with professional musicians. Anyone watching that can see that is the bones of it there. We've got Wonder Arts, we've got the Heart of Glass, we've got our own arts team, and then, like I said, the creative. You know, we have a university centre that has, I can't remember off the top of my head, but has quite a number of creative courses about. So yeah, I do think we have it there ready to help the youth culture. But yeah, can we do a bit more, and can we join up some dots? Yeah, we can.
Put that in there for now, because I think it's that there. Now, have we got the microphone out the back there somewhere? Yeah, I see it being held aloft like the Olympic flame. 3 things to say really. You can address questions to the panel. You can say something you're just burning to say. And although I am the, in quotes, author of the film, I'm happy to take both criticism and indeed a bit of praise if it comes my way, but mainly criticism and comment about the film if it's the film that preoccupies you. So it wouldn't do any harm if you just kind of say a name at least, because it's dark out there and we can't always see who we got. But we had at least one candidate saying, I've got something to say, so let's start with you over there, and then we'll pull back over here, see if the panel's got anything to be said, and we'll start to move forwards. Please go.
I don't think I need the microphone, but...
Well, try it.
It was something burning that I wanted to say, and it was about creativity and where it's born from. And I think creativity in the past, in the present, in the future, will always be born out of those individuals who have got something inside them that they want to do. And that was my experience, because I got swept into a wonderful part of my life when I was younger by people like Rita Alcock, Karen here, and she had something to say and something to do, and she swept us along in that. And then that's led to people like Ian carrying that on, Wendy and her amazing aerial dance, the performance that we saw a few weeks ago. And so it's those special people in the context of support and funding, but without those special people, there's nothing special to say. So I would like to thank all those people who swept me along, and hopefully there'll be many more creative people who come along with their ideas. Thank you.
Who else was swept along by somebody? Yeah? I can't quite see, but let's see who else might want to say something. Comment, whatever. Yeah, over there, over there.
I've got one wonderful.
You've got a microphone to use if you want.
A question about the present day and the way things are compared to the past. Because there was no other form other than going to a hub to perform, show your work, and now social media allows people in the bedrooms to be superstars to people all over the world. What is the initiative to have a hub within the town that you're from to present it? Because people seem to have detached themselves from the physical interaction of the physicality of physically getting together and doing it, because people still do it, but at the same time they hide away and have that security of not showing sides that they might feel uncomfortable in public presenting. So it's good and bad, but I do think the past cannot be recreated. It's got to be reconstructed with how things work in the present day, and encouraging communal. But again, this community word, I've always shied away from community stuff. I've always wanted to do stuff on my own. I did stuff with other people, but I didn't feel part of a community. I felt like I wanted to stand away from what was going on. But at the same time, it's inevitable, you're still a part of it. Because you watch that and you think, we were. You can watch it and you think, everyone's individual doing their own stuff, but at the same time, stuff was happening and it felt like there was a thing, and that, well, in retrospect, looking back at that, feels like an important time. But at the same time, I remember being couldn't wait to get out St Helens. I couldn't wait to leave, because the thing about St Helens was it's full of people that you hate, and it's backwards, and everyone's telling you that you're a fucking loser. No one encourages the arts and anything culturally diverse in a town like this, and that is also one of the part and parcel reasons why the stuff that people make creatively from here comes up with interesting stuff, because it fights against that and takes it in and is riddled with guilt at the same time, and that's what makes good art. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you leave it there a minute, because I want to address that question to Rebecca as Creative Lives Officer in the present, who will probably have an answer to the question, what does the new culture of individuality and separation, does the borough have ways of dealing with that?
So that's I would say that's a loaded thing to pass on. In answer to what Sean said, I was having the same discussion before. We had the same discussion before, didn't we? About times have changed. So what is youth culture? That was my question. What is youth culture? Youth culture is really different now, where people do have that they have the ability to reach anyone across the world. They make content, they've got Facebook, they've got TikTok. So I agree with Sean in the difference of it is different. Everyone was out then, you had nothing else to do. Do you know, there was nothing else to do. People went out and then you only went home for your tea. That's what it was like. So I think what we do have work to do, truthfully, is learning what is that new youth culture. What are the young people interested in? Because someone even in my 40s, thinking about me as a young person is very different to a young person now. So really, I think it's about, for one, getting around the young people, being involved in the young people. In answer to what we personally are going to try and do about it as an arts team, next year we will have a youth board or youth activators who are going to feed into our programming, and we're going to aim to really get them involved, and hopefully they will spread the word. But I do think it's about acknowledging that times have changed, and how can we, instead of getting young people to fit into what we want to do, what do young people want to do, and how can we fit into what they want to do?
I want to pitch one more extra question there, which comes from what Sean said. Is there still role for hubs? Is there still role for places where people might join and get together and be?
Yeah, yes, I do think so, but what I am also aware of is a lot of feedback, what we do get of people who have been doing this for years and working with young people for years. Everyone seems to be struggling to get young people back into spaces after COVID, and I think we also have to acknowledge what that period of COVID did, where we did actually, you know, without going into that too much, it definitely had an impact on people getting together. Now, whether that is a specific hub where people just keep coming, or whether that is different buildings and using your town as a hub, I don't know the answer to that, but I think there's room for both, Roger. I definitely think there's room for both.
Now it's about time we went back to the audience. I can just about see who else wants to grab the microphone.
I've got the microphone.
Who are you?
I just want to make a quick observation about, there's something started yesterday with 9 St Helens artists, and another, is it 51 artists have contributed to an exhibition that we started in the market.
16 total, I think, yeah.
60 artists, visual artists. And, visual arts wasn't talked an awful lot, within this film, although we did do a lot of visual arts back in the day, but it wasn't as visible perhaps as some of the music and the theatre was. 60 artists, that's staggering, isn't it? Get yourself down to the market, back at St Mary's Market. I was there yesterday. I was a bit persona non grata there, but I'm not going to go into that now why that was. But there's a load of interesting stuff happening.
I did wonder whether this is the final cut, because we're moving towards the end there, where we're saying about the music scene that started to build. But there is this huge art scene as well that's now.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
And this has been, this year of all years has been about that, hasn't it? So to not feature that in the film is maybe a bit.
Well, I mean, that's a comment about the film, and I'll answer that in a minute. But do you want to add anything more to that comment, Andy, other than to say visual arts is beginning to flourish here and there's a lot of it going on?
It's not beginning to. It's been for a long time,
okay,
but it's just sat underneath. It's not been as visible as this, because of course bands, theatre, music, dance. That's always going to be more visible because it's linked more to like that nighttime stuff that you would do. Just going out to a gig and drinking. It's a different form of creativity, but it's just as valid, and it's.
Are there any galleries in St Helens?
No, there aren't. There's
yes,
just
there are.
Well, there is. Sorry, yeah, there is. What am I saying?
So yeah, there is a gallery. So if you want to call it a gallery, there's a gallery in the Millennium Building, and there also is a gallery within the World of Glass. And we also do, and have been for quite a few years now, have pop-up galleries within shop spaces and empty buildings. But as a fixed gallery, it is the World of Glass, and in the strangely enough, in the walk-in centre, on one of the floors, there's a Millennium floor.
And just to be clear, because it is a bit contentious, but do we still have the capacity for putting small exhibitions on in the libraries?
Yes. Oh, I can't believe we forgot that. Yes, and of course we have exhibition space in the libraries. What I will say is, obviously it is a library, so it's different to your traditional white wall space. But I would say often that there is space for whatever people want to do. It's often going to someone What I've found since I've been working in the arts is if you have an idea and people can see that you care about something or you're passionate at something, usually somebody will help. I can honestly say that that is what I have honestly found. If somebody spots a bit of enthusiasm or passion or something within you, and I see it happen all over, I see somebody come and say, I want to do this, and then somebody just admires that little spark, and I think it links back to what was being said before. It takes those interesting people, and it takes those people to inspire, and St Helens really is, and I will say what Andy has said, Claire Wheatman has done an amazing job, and it's not been overnight, slowly but surely. She has reached out, and the difference is made everyone feel included, no matter what level of art you are at, from professional artist to someone who makes art in the room who does not see themselves as an artist, but they are. And there was no hierarchy, and if you made art, if you was creative, Claire said, come and get involved, and that's how you've got 60 people over there, because it wasn't, no, we're not helping you, and maybe Andy is right, maybe it's not as visible, because artists do sort of, like Sean said, go off to their own sometimes. You squiddle away in these private spaces. But I'm amazed. At first I thought, for years I thought St Helens had nothing. You know, for years I had this sort of weird view, and then when I got involved in the arts, you find this whole other scene and this whole other world that really, really does exist. And again, I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it's, you know, I think it's bigger than what a lot of people realise. And from that, and with this film, we really do. Like, we've got such the potential to springboard. St Helens Borough of Culture this year has purely been about community-led and self-directed-led things, because otherwise it's great having showcases, it's great having all these big shows, but what's the legacy? And we will see, you know, this is an experiment, we're going to see after this what the legacy of letting people really generate things for themselves and how that springboards.
Thank you. There's a lot of points there. Before we come back to the audience, we're going well at the moment, so we're going to let this roll for a bit. If you need to go, you need to go. But please leave your form on the way if you do go out. But just one answer to that slight question. This is an authored film, which means it was given to me to write, direct and produce. And my perception over the last 15 months of spending work in the town, very thoroughly actually, I've been around a lot in that time, has been more to do perhaps because of my history with performative things like music, like theatre and like events and so on. Not being oblivious to the visual arts side of it. Somebody quite important said that they felt that the film should have finished with a montage of visual arts. And I have to say, it's not finished with a montage of visual arts because I never saw one. Whereas I did see the K's, and I did think, this is fucking great. And I thought, well, I'm going to finish with something that's fucking great. So I finished with the K's, because it's an authored film. But if, on the other hand, you know, you had made the film, or you had made the film, and you knew about Claire's work more comprehensively than me, you might well have finished it differently.
To be fair, I thought you finished on, the K's was a very good thing to finish on. Great track.
Okay, good. Let's leave it there. Let's give this a little more round, and then we might have to start stopping. Anybody got the microphone?
Yeah, my name's Roy.
Right, go on, Roy. What do you want to say?
I thought the film, looking at it, was reminiscent. It was historically, I loved this, the street aspects of it. It was brilliant. And it was lovely to see that. It was like a journey back to a time when I was a part of it. And I think to myself now, and I echo what Sean says in a way, and that is that times have changed, but I still think there's that need for, and they have, and then social media is. I don't agree with, you know, a generation stuck behind a TV set playing games. I don't agree with a generation playing violent video games. I come from a nursing background in forensics, and horrendous things have happened through that kind of thing. And that's the thing I think. Something needs to be, okay, I acknowledge it, but it doesn't mean it's got to be something that has to be pertinent every single day. I do think there's something more guttural that's needed. I've been, as a community nurse when I left forensics, I went around there and I saw some poverty in this town, which is horrendous. It shouldn't be happening. And that, to me, that lends itself towards Bleasdalean kind of viewpoint, positively Orwellian, which is wrong. But like the historian chappie said, I forgot your name, so my apologies. That was incredible, the history that you came up with there. It was really good, because that's the stuff that I've read into in the Industrial Revolution. I was brought up with that. I look at that and I think to myself, well, we have got something to fall back on, but I do think that we do need more street theatre. I know you're saying that things are going on and what have you. I think that a raised awareness is probably needed.
I agree with you. I do agree with you. It's, are we getting... Do enough people know about what's going on? I can't disagree with you whatsoever, but that's the ongoing thing. Ask anyone about marketing and getting people to know about your events and getting people to come to your events. So how did it happen then?
How did the cultural...
Do you know what? I've no idea, Sean.
How can that not happen now?
I've no idea, because when I saw that before and I saw how people was organising all this stuff, so DIY with a pen and a paper, and I've got a computer and a laptop, and well, obviously a laptop and the internet, and it's so much easier. I don't know. It's admirable. Was it word of mouth? Did people mix more? Did people talk more? Don't know.
I was there, but I'm not going to answer these kind of things. Andy Cave was there. What's the answer to that one, Andy?
Well, as Paul said, it was a youth thing. You know, there's a lot of young people there. It was young people operate, don't they, in their own tribes, and there are a lot of tribes that sort of came together there and just, you know, there's more of a culture of meeting and going to the pub and drinking and chatting, and if you go round into pubs, like we went over the pub over the road there, it was packed, but there'll be loads of other pubs where it won't be as packed perhaps as it used to be, you know, and so it was a time when you had a landline, you would ring someone and you would meet somebody at that place, because you wouldn't have a mobile phone to change your sort of plans all the time. You just go to that one place. So, and I think, you know, for me, there was just a load
Open the Alpha again?
Big box of bricks. Get the Alpha going again, yeah.
Can I say something about
that? You can, take the mic, it's there for you.
Sorry, I've robbed it. One of the things that I remember, I left school in '83, so, you know, minus strike, there was nothing going on, and the Alfred, Thursday night, every Thursday night there was a band on, and you got to know people, and you got to know everybody else's band, so, you know, everyone knew someone who was in the band, and you all went and supported everybody else. And just to come back to your point about spreading the word, the crossover between the people, a number of people in bands who were involved at the gamble. So the visual art, people doing their own posters and then sharing their friends' work around. And you know, there's a photo somewhere knocking around, and somebody might have a copy of it. There's my bedroom wall at uni that has all my friends' posters on it. So it's one of those things, if you've got a hub, if you've got somewhere that you know every Thursday night or every Friday night there's going to be a band on, people will come, and it will encourage other young people to come and come forward.
Do youth clubs have a part to play? Did youth clubs have a part to play?
Are there any youth clubs left?
No.
Well,
that's why the word's not getting round.
The thing is, I have to say that there was like a lack of judgment in the Citadel. So the expression was like, there was a clear line of expression. I mean, every now and again there's sushi.
What do you mean? Like
there was like a clear line of expression. There wasn't judgment inside though, but as you walked outside of the Citadel, there was plenty of judgment. I can recall going back to where I was living between Clockface, sort of Manor and what have you before I went to Liverpool, and it was wow. You know, you go into it, instead of it being like a thing, like a buzz, like it was between us, it was something else. There was a negativity that enshrouded it. Now we live in freer times, I believe, as a consequence of what was achieved inside that building.
Okay, I'm going to put a question to the three panel members. One more point and then we'll do that, yeah? Microphone here somewhere. Can we hoist it upon? Well, it's not for me, it's for you.
Yeah, my name's Richard. I lived in St Helens for a period, sort of late 80s, early 90s, so it's, I don't live in St Helens anymore, but it's quite refreshing to come back. And, but it was to do with ecology. You know, I started my career in ecology here, which was which was a wonderful experience in a different way. And I saw a piece of St Helens at that time, which included things like Lady Pilkington's garden party with the brass band, and I think I went twice to that. But a lovely sort of legacy of philanthropy, which I've never seen in any other place, which was, you know, the Christmas bus rides, the neighbours I lived in Carmel. And so it was a reflection, you know, I witnessed of that. But I do think in terms of a legacy, and, you know, there's some sadness, because it was, I think it was only 4 years ago, I was asked to look at some land, because my job was to do with ecology, and it meant walking into the building where Pilkington's headquarters was, and literally walking through the old executive canteen, which it was like, I think there was a film 28 Days Later, and there was still, you know, menus and things with prawn cocktails and things in the executive canteen, and so there was a sadness attached to that. But I do think, and it was a witness of what I did when I was in St Helens, because I worked in Clawton Street. It was the early days of the Groundwork Trust, which was the very, very first one in the country. An amazing group of people, which overlaps with, you know, the creativity and the music and things, because obviously we got a sense of that. But there was a lot of creativity attached to that at the time, and, you know, later on in my career, for example, you're talking about a World Heritage site. I know Robert Lee, who's campaigned and doing the Birkenhead work. So I think there's a wonderful opportunity in terms of how you reinvent yourself. And, you know, I'm an ecologist, but we work a lot with artists, and have been doing for years, and it is the importance of those connections that will build your narrative. But, you know, so it's a wonderful reflection. It's worth saying for me to be back in St Helens and just reconnect a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to, because we are getting near wind up time, you take that back for the minute.
Sorry, can I just say something that
yes,
that goes on to that sentiment? Do you know, the Groundwork Trust at Sutton High School, where I was, we did a thing for the Groundwork Trust, and we ended up on the BBC in an industrial programme called It's My City. Eamon Holmes came to interview us. I just thought I'd drop that in there. we actually were still doing I got about it. There you go.
Just preview.
I was a judge on It's My City, and I've got the certificates to prove it. Anyway, I'm going to go to these three. Not the end of everything, but it's a wind down. I'm going to start with Paul, far end there. Each of you, what do you think is necessary to make a town a good place to be in?
People make places. It's a glib saying, but there's more than a kernel of truth in it. So it's about encouraging and enabling people to fulfil their lives, to be able to do what they are capable of doing and to enhance their lives. So that it all revolves around that for me.
Barrie, what is it necessary for a town for it to be a good place to be in?
A thriving culture of belief, so that people believe in themselves and the possibilities that they can do absolutely anything they want to do individually or collectively. And St Helens, I know, can do that.
Rebecca, same question?
I would say combine what them two have just said, and they've summarised it. Belief, people make places. Of course, you can go into regeneration and money and things like that, but at the end of the day, I do think if people have belief and a space to thrive, or a space to at least believe that they can thrive. Yeah.
The film's going to be shown again, and it's going to be available to be shown again after that. You may have an organisation you would like to show it personally, privately at, as part of a meeting or as part of a gathering. It's made by the council, it's commissioned, it's free. It will eventually be on the web, and therefore you'll be able to just watch it and recommend your friends watch it. Tonight we'll go from here. This room will be empty in due course. But the film says some of that, I think. I think the film, in its way, at least I hoped it does, says it's about people, says it's about belief. It spells out rather deliberately in a finger-wagging way, this we need if it's going to happen again. And so that's my contribution to that question, is it's all in the film. Would anybody like to, rather focusing on that question, give us a couple of, from the audience, answers, and then we're going to say thank you and end it all. Anybody want to take the mic just to say what they think it is that makes a town a good place to be in?
Heart and soul.
Well, here's one without the microphone. Heart and soul.
Yeah, you need work and a work-life balance.
Work and a
work-life balance.
A work-life balance.
You come to where I work, mate, and you're under pressure to maintain any creativity.
Yeah.
You're in survival mode.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Any other comments?
You need escape from that. You need help.
Okay, that's a good counter to some of the other stuff. Anybody else want to add a couple more to that, and then we're going to wave goodbye. Ian Greenall, you haven't said very much tonight. If I'm going to pick on you rather deliberately, what is it that a town needs to be a good place to be in?
People with aspirations.
People with aspirations from over there?
Hope.
Hope. Anything from over here?
Love.
Love. Right, we get
The elf.
The elf. I know that bombshell. I know that bombshell we're going to finish. The discussion carries on in your heads and amongst everybody else. We've done a little bit towards urging that forwards. Thank you very much for being here. Please tell your friends that it is again on the 6th for 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock. The more people see it, the more the discussion, the more change, the more likelihood that people you care about will be able to step into a future that you made. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Thank you very much to Lucem House for their housing and hospitality. We'll see you in the Thank you. Good night.